Explore a path of serenity and inner balance as you dive into the universe of yoga with us. Join us in the online yoga course with Sadhguru. Sign up to experience the transformative benefits of yoga. The link is in the description.
Jananam sukadham maranam karunam milanam maduram smaranam karunam kalavashadiha sakalam karunam samayadipate akilam karunam. Good afternoon, everybody, the Excellencies and ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here.
Good afternoon, Sadhguru, and good afternoon to Your Excellencies and distinguished guests, and to all the meditators who are watching on the internet right now. I'm so grateful to be here, and it's such a privilege, really, to be here. My name is Maxwell Kennedy, and I learned how to meditate from Sadhguru a few years ago. So we're here at the United Nations, and there are maybe 40 or 60 ambassadors here in 70 different countries and 7,000 people, and we're here to talk about sustainable development. So why did you start with a chant?
The chant is an invocation. An invocation means to perform different types of activities. We need to have our energies in different ways. Otherwise, most people have become competent in one way or the other, but if you ask them to do something totally different, they will find themselves totally at loss. This is simply because their energies get directed in one way only. An invocation means you kind of make yourself malleable in such a way that for every different type of action, you need your energies in different parts of your system, and you are able to graduate that, calibrate that in such a way to perform that specific activity. So when I sit here, what we need to do is different from what I was doing when I was walking down here. So this is just calibration using sounds. If we have to know the meaning, it's talking about how birth is sweetness, but death is compassion. It's a relief. We may think death is a terrible thing, but aren't we glad that someday we will die? Suppose we could not die, that would be terrible, isn't it? Suppose we can't die at all. And above all, it is talking about yoga in the sense, the chant is describing yoga as a way of transcending time. When we say transcending time, right now we have a sense of time only because we are so identified with our physical nature. Suppose we did not have a body, we would not have any sense of time. Our body is keeping time. Everything that is time is cyclical, but yoga is a dimension which wants to transcend, which helps you to transcend these cycles and make a journey beyond cyclical nature of life, which is the nature of physical existence.
Thank you. I had a teacher at Harvard who was a medical doctor, and he told me a story that when he was a young doctor, he went down to Mississippi, and he saw children there in the United States, this is in the mid-1960s, who were starving. And after that trip, he went to Washington, D.C., and he tried to meet a group of senators, and he went to one after the other, and none of them would talk to him. And on Sunday afternoon, he got my father's phone number at home. My father is Senator Robert F. Kennedy. And my sister Carrie, who runs the Robert F. Kennedy Memorial, is here right now, and my wife Vicki. But he got my dad's number, and he called and it was Sunday. My dad's with the children, and he said to him, well, all right, why don't you come over and we'll talk. And after they spoke, my dad went to Mississippi, to where this doctor had gone, and when he came back, he wrote this, he said these words, and there are others. On the back roads of Mississippi, where thousands of children slowly starve their lives away, their minds damaged beyond repair by the age of 4 or 5. In the camps of the migrant workers, 500,000 nomads, virtually unprotected by collective bargaining or Social Security, minimum wage, or workman's compensation, exposed to the caprice of fate and the cruelty of their fellow man alike. And on Indian reservations where the unemployment rate is 80%, and where suicide is not a philosopher's question, but the leading cause of death among young people. So after that trip, my father went back to the Senate, and he worked with a group of others, and they created the first food stamps program in the United States. And that is kind of the development model that I'm used to. So when I look at the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations, my immediate reaction is to think, are the Addis Ababa Accords going to fund this or not? But you have a different approach. Can you talk about yoga in that context?
So when we say sustainable development goals, we are talking about human well-being, addressing human well-being as 17 different issues which concerns poverty, nourishment, health, women's issues, environment, these kind of things. Essentially, we're talking about human well-being. How can you transform the world without transforming individual human beings? This is the effort that's going on in the world for a long time. We want to transform the world, but we are not aiming at individual human beings. The world is just a word. It is just you and me. If there is no transformation in you and me, if there is no change in the way we perceive, experience and think, feel and act in this world, how can you change the world? So we can pump in money, we can have projects, they will all go up and go down. But only if we transform individual human beings on a large scale, only then there will be true transformation. This is why yoga becomes a significant thing. Today, the United Nations taking up this International Yoga Day is a very important step. I would say it's a revolutionary approach, because without transforming individual human beings, you cannot really transform the world, because there is no such thing as in reality. In reality, there's just you, me and someone else. If all of us change, the world has changed. If we refuse to change, we will be only talking about it. I've been to any number of international peace conferences, and everybody's talking about world peace. In one of these conferences, where there were 17 Nobel laureates, I asked them a simple question, is it true that all of you are truly peaceful human beings? Can you put your hand on your heart and say, I am peaceful? They admitted, no, Sadhguru, we don't know how to be peaceful, but we want the world peaceful. How is that possible? What you see as the world is just a larger manifestation of who we are.
Sadhguru, you can see all around the world, in Brazil, in the United States, in LA where I live, people are doing yoga. And when we're doing it, I'm stretching out my body and trying to control my breathing. Can you explain what yoga really is and how that can help attain the SDGs?
So this fundamental human longing for health, for well-being, for fulfillment of life, when you find a logically correct and scientifically ascertainable way, then we say this is yoga. Yoga means in pursuit of human well-being, we've been doing all kinds of things. We've been looking up for a long time, which has led to humanity being divided in the name of religions, castes, creeds, in so many different ways. Now in the last 50 years, I would say we are looking out seriously and we are ripping the planet apart. All the environmental degradation that we are talking about is just in pursuit of human well-being. In the last 100 years, definitely We are the most comfortable generation ever. But we cannot say we are well because we are not really well. People are not happy, people are not peaceful. That is not happening because we have not addressed the inner nature. So when you address it in a scientific manner, rather than by belief, by philosophy, by ideologies, you address human well-being in a scientific way, this is yoga. The word yoga literally means union. When we say union, what we're talking about is, we're talking about a scientific way of obliterating the boundaries of your individuality. When I say a scientific way of obliterating the boundaries of your individual nature, what this means is, right now as we sit here, this is me, that is you, distinctly clear. But we are breathing the same air, we are a product of the same earth. What you call as myself is just a pop-up on this planet and it'll pop out. But in this little bit of time, we have divided this in such a way that we can't meet. Yoga means you obliterate these individual boundaries, not intellectually, not by belief, not by ideology, but as a living experience. We launched I mean this was there on the video, we launched a very large-scale environmental project in southern India. The fundamental for this came from this. This happened to me when I was in the university, and recently about 8 years ago, when I happened to be in my hometown, and after a very long time, one of my English teachers came up to me and said, "Now I understand why you would not let me teach Robert Frost." I said, "Ma'am, why would I not let you teach Robert Frost? I like Robert Frost." She said, "Don't you remember you didn't let me teach Frost?" Then I remembered. She came one day, till then we were reading only English poets. She came and introduced the American poet and she said, "Robert Frost, such a great man," and then she started off, "Woods are lovely, dark and deep." I said, "Stop." I said, "A man who calls a tree a wood, I don't want to listen to this guy." She said, "No, this is a very great poet." I said, "I don't care how great he is, he calls tree a wood. I don't want to listen to him." Then when we wanted to start this process in southern India, when we found that rivers were going dry and the groundwater was sinking very rapidly, when I decided we will plant 114 million trees in Tamil Nadu, the simple thing that we did was, I took thousands of people, made them sit under trees, and we set up a yogic process with which they experienced that what they're breathing out, the trees are inhaling. What the trees are exhaling, they are inhaling. And they realized one half of their lungs is hanging out there. Once they realized this, there is no stopping. Even today, millions of trees are being planted on a yearly basis, all done by common people, simply because we brought this yogic experience to them, that they truly realized that one half of their breathing apparatus is actually out there, not here. So, bringing this experience into people, that what you think as myself is not within the boundaries of your physical nature, it goes well beyond that. If this becomes a living reality, then fulfilling these goals that United Nations has for the world becomes much more possible than the way it is right now, where we are trying to push in one way, but a whole lot of people are pushing in the opposite direction, because they don't even see it as theirs.
Thank you, Sadhguru. I wanted to point out this incredible thing about the tree planting project is that Sadhguru insisted that the trees be planted on small plots of land, less than half an acre, and half of the trees are fruit trees, and then half of them can be used for firewood, so that the people who live on these lands are benefited from them. They take care of the trees, and those trees actually really grow. And one of the things that's really working on is poverty. And when I look at the world today, and I see, especially in the United States, this incredible gap between people who have capital and people who don't. And it's a very disturbing sign to me, the gap between rich and poor. Can you talk a little bit about how yoga would address that in terms of sustainable development?
So we must understand this, that we have chosen an economic model which is all about everybody for himself or herself. There is no larger commitment to humanity as such, because that is market economy. Everybody does according to their own capabilities and skills and grab what they can grab. It's literally shoot and scoot economy. But we have gone for this simply because the socialistic, communistic ideas have unfortunately failed, not necessarily because they're bad, because human beings are not ready for it yet. That is, poor people who had nothing wanted to share, the rich never wanted to share, so it became a joke in the world. If rich had the consciousness to share, communism would have been a great idea, but the poor want to share, rich don't want to share. So that is the same situation here, and this is the same situation building up everywhere else in the world. Is this the best way to run the world? No. But do we have a better idea? No. So, because right now we are in that place. So the only thing that we can truly do is that we bring what we are referring to as yoga, as a living experience. Yoga does not mean twisting your body, yoga does not mean standing on your head, yoga does not mean holding your breath. Yoga means in some way you have transcended the limitations of your physical nature. You are beginning to experience life as a larger possibility, not just this physical form that you are. Once this becomes a living experience, sharing and living together will become a common experience everywhere. Does it mean we are going to start communes and everybody will live together? No, we can run businesses in a more inclusive way, we can create a more inclusive economic model, and this need not be done by government policy. This can be done by private individuals, because there are companies which are almost as large as nations today. There are companies which are bigger than nations. So it is very much possible that business can be run in a more inclusive way. Right now we are thinking only of profit. Our idea of profit is very short-term kind of idea. If you really want to run your company, if you are thinking in terms of your company prospering in the next 100, 200, 500 years continuously, then it's very important that you make your customer your partner, that you make everybody else in the society your partner. Whatever you're manufacturing or whatever you're selling or whatever the business is, whether you're selling a safety pin or a computer or a spacecraft, essentially the business is about human well-being. If this comes into the consciousness of every business person, if this comes into the consciousness of building every business, that essentially this is about human well-being. We do it in so many ways, but fundamentally it's about that. If this awareness and consciousness is instilled in the businesses on the planet, then you can find the capitalistic way of living need not mean disparity, can mean well-being to everybody.
Sadhguru, I read the other day that for every dollar in government investment in developing countries, that there's $7 now in private investment. So how do we use yoga to yoke in the private corporations that are looking just at their bottom line to end up really having development that's fair and just?
In the last 20 years, I have largely focused on the business leaders, because there was a time a few hundred years ago where the most influential leadership on the planet was religious leadership. Later on, when the military machines built up in a big way, the military leaders dominated the world. In the last 100 years, democratically elected leaders have become the most dominant force. In the next 15 to 25 years, you will see the business leaders will be the most important or influential leadership on the planet. The good thing about business is that a businessman is willing to make a deal if the deal is good, no matter who you are. I'm saying the old prejudice of I cannot make a deal with somebody is going away and they're willing to make a deal. Now, anything is sustainable only if it is beneficial to both the parties. Nothing can be sustained either in the marketplace or in marriage unless it's beneficial to both the parties. Only when it's truly beneficial to both the parties, this can be sustained. This is slowly sinking into the business leadership. I have seen in the last 20 years, prominent business leaders, their way of thinking is very, very different than what it was. My essential work has been to move individual leaders from their personal ambitions to a larger vision, because a larger vision means then the business is sustainable for a long period of time. If it's just your personal ambition, the world will work against you. If you have a larger vision, the world will work with you. This is the big difference. So this is something that is slowly sinking in. You will see, if you see annual meetings of major businesses, what they're talking, if you look at the economic forum, if you look at various economic assemblies on the planet, you will see they're all beginning to talk about a larger vision, how to make a difference rather than how to make a profit. This has become the language of the business these days. It still has to manifest in a big way, but at least the language has changed from profit to making a difference.
Thank you. Sadhguru, when you look at societies all across the world, there's a huge gap between what's available to women and what's available to men. The Sustainable Development Goals address this. What's the role of gender equality in yoga?
See, yoga means transcending your physical nature on one level. If you transcend your physical nature, where is the question of being a male or a female? You being a male or a female is relevant only in a few spaces in your life, in bathrooms and bedrooms. Rest of the places, I don't see why you should recognize somebody as a man or a woman. Why are we identifying people with reproductory organs? If you must use a body part, at least use the brain. I think a small gender difference that is there between us to fulfill a certain aspect of our life is being stretched too far. I think this is from another period where it was not possible for a woman to participate because of variety of physical situations in the world. And that is largely leveled today in most parts of the world, and it's rapidly changing everywhere, I would say. I think a more active effort is needed, at least by law in most nations, it is 100% equal. By practice, there is still discrepancies which has to be worked at. I feel it's a generational thing. Once the older generation moves out, the younger generation is not looking at it that way anymore. At least I see that in all the Asian countries. It is only people beyond 60 years of age who think in this mode. The younger people are not thinking that way anymore.
Sadhguru, I'm just going to ask you one more question because I want to save time for the audience who've been waiting to talk to you. And can you tell about how you conceive the world in 30 years?
What I see is, for the very first time in the history of humanity, human intellect is sparking like never before. More people on the planet today can think for themselves than ever before in the history of this human existence. So once human intellect begins to spark like this, unless something is logically correct and scientifically verifiable, it will fail in future. You may be willing to listen to a few things, but your children are not going to listen to anything that does not make sense to them. It does not matter from what authority it comes from. Or in other words, we are moving into an era where authority cannot be the truth. Truth will be the only authority in future. We are getting there because everybody is beginning to ask questions and people are not afraid to ask questions anymore, so this is bound to happen. Once this happens, human aspiration for well-being has to have a logically correct and scientifically ascertainable methodology, and it's of tremendous importance that today the International Yoga Day has been declared in the last 1 year. It was mooted by the Prime Minister, but it was almost like the world was waiting for it. As they mentioned, 177 countries, never before in the history of United Nations, all of them agreed upon one thing as they agreed upon yoga. It looked like they were waiting for it. Yes, the world has been waiting for a scientific and a logically correct solution for human well-being. The aspiration for human well-being will not stop. Unless we provide a proper scientifically structured methodology, then people in terms of well-being will move towards chemicals. This is a grave concern in the world. The number of people moving towards alcohol and drugs in the last 25 years must be maybe 500 to 1000% more than what it was 25 years ago. This is mainly because in pursuit of human well-being, there are no logically correct answers to their questions. That is the reason why human beings are seeking these kind of solutions. Unless we provide this is a natural progression. I see in the next 30 years to 50 years, there will be a big movement towards a scientific process for inner well-being. And this is the right time to be here at this forum and this yoga becoming a worldwide thing. We must understand yoga is not an Indian thing. If you want to call yoga Indian, then you must call gravity European, okay? Because yes, it originated from that place, because India is one place where for a few millennia we had uninterrupted time to look deep inwards and to look at the human mechanism in utmost profoundness as to how this functions, what is the ultimate possibility within this human mechanism. This has taken a few millennia to understand and arrive at this possibility. And yoga, I want this message to go, the science of yoga is not just about health, it's not just about fitness, it is an ultimate solution for every aspect of human existence. There is different types of yogas, yoga can be taught in different dimensions. The ultimate possibility of raising beyond our physical nature, the ultimate possibility of knowing life in its fullest way. The word yoga means union. The word yogi means one who has experienced this union. We need not 1, 2, 5 yogis, we need millions of them who have a sense of union with the rest of the universe, particularly those who hold responsible positions in the world. They must come to this experience because leadership essentially means you have the privilege of touching other people's lives. What you think, what you feel and what you do, every single thought, emotion and action either makes or breaks people's lives. That's what leadership means. When you are given such a privilege, it's very, very important that you are in a state of yoga, that you experience life around you as yourself. If any of us feel the work that we are doing is important, the first and foremost thing is we must work upon ourselves.
It gives me deep honor and pleasure to first give the floor to Under-Secretary General, Ambassador Vijay Nambiar, who will also be delivering a message on behalf of the Secretary General, Mr. Ban Ki-moon.
I shall just be delivering the message of the Secretary General on tomorrow's International Day of Yoga. Yoga is an ancient physical, mental and spiritual practice that originated in India and is now practiced in various forms around the world. The word yoga derives from Sanskrit and means to join to or to unite, symbolizing the union of body and consciousness. Yoga balances body and soul, physical health and mental well-being. It promotes harmony among people and between ourselves and the natural world. Recognizing its universal appeal, the United Nations General Assembly proclaimed 21st June as the International Day of Yoga. This year's observance of the International Day of Yoga highlights the important role healthy living plays in the realization of the Sustainable Development Goals adopted last year by all 193 United Nations member states. As exercise, yoga has multiple benefits. Physical inactivity is linked with a number of non-communicable diseases such as cancer, diabetes, and cardiovascular diseases, which are among the leading causes of illness and death worldwide. By improving fitness, teaching us how to breathe correctly, and working to diminish stress, yoga can help to cultivate healthier lifestyles. Practicing yoga can also help raise awareness of our role as consumers of the planet's resources and as individuals with a duty to respect and live in peace with our neighbors. All these elements are essential to building a sustainable future of dignity and opportunity for all. On the International Day of Yoga tomorrow, I urge everyone to embrace healthier choices and lifestyles and to commit to unity with our fellow human beings, regardless of ethnicity, faith, age, gender identity, or sexual orientation. Let us celebrate this day and every day as members of one human family, sharing one common, precious home. Thank you.
May I now give the floor to the permanent representative of Bangladesh. Sir.
We deeply appreciate the Indian government's initiative to have the International Day of Yoga. We have learned a lot from the yoga masters, especially the perspective as to how yoga can contribute in the attainment of global peace, sustainable future, and in turn the realization of the SDGs. What I understand, without peace of mind and harmony in the body, how can we think we can change the world? First, we have to change our own world, by which what I mean is how we live, breathe, eat, think, and aspire. If we are not fit for the purpose of contributing to sustainable peace in the world, we will remain as bystanders and not as active agents of change. I can share my own personal story with my colleagues and others present here. I had been suffering from a very bad bout of sciatica problem for the last 2 months. At times the pain was debilitating. I have gone through serious pain medication followed by physical therapy and acupuncture. In fact, I am just coming here from my 6th session of acupuncture treatment. I realized that I suffered this problem because of accumulated lifestyle-related problems, which included long hours of sitting, standing, stress from the work, and also from the family for the constant change of places of postings, etc. During the last 8 weeks of my ordeal, I reflected on my life and future course of action. I read a lot and searched the internet for answers, and I finally came to the conclusion that yoga is the answer to my situation. Although I did some yoga in my college days, my biggest mistake was that I discontinued that. Perhaps if I…
What kind of punishment do you normally give to people? Already enough punishment has been given, isn't it? Already it's been given. The ugliness, the nastiness, the silent treatment, everything has happened. So what more punishment you want to give? Your thing is there is no remorse on the other side. There's no remorse on the other side because people are doing what they want to do, not what you want them to do, always. And that may not be in your interest, but they're doing what they want to do. Is it right, wrong? I'm not going into the morality of it. I want you to understand the mechanics of the situation. Somebody is doing what they want to do. Now you think they must be punished. Probably they have not broken any law, otherwise they would be anyway punished. They're breaking an understanding between two people. Probably you misunderstood the understanding. You believed that these understandings are absolute. They are not. Nowhere in the history of humanity, or today, or in any time in future, will human relationships be absolute. Though every person who gets little romantic believes that this is going to be an absolute relationship, there is no such thing about it. A relationship is a variable, always. You have to conduct it on a daily basis. One day if you don't conduct it properly, it may go somewhere. Yes or no? No, please look at it as it is. You have to conduct it right. So, no, I'm doing my best. Obviously somebody feels your best is not good enough for them. No, I want you to come to terms with this. This is not about… I'm not saying what they're doing is right or wrong, that's not for me to say. All I'm saying is, this is how human beings are functioning for ages and still are. I'm saying, first of all, you need to understand, relationships will never ever be absolute. There will be variables that it's juggling that you have to do. If you're juggling with fireballs, sometimes it'll spill out. Takes lot of skill and attention. Yes or no? You married, many of you. Doesn't it take a lot of skill and attention? If you don't pay any attention, you don't know what the hell is happening. It takes a lot of attention, isn't it? Someone just called me from some country in Europe and, "Sadhguru, I'm just doing housework, come and save me." Take me away to your ashram, I'm just doing housework. She's washing dishes and stuff. Well, very affluent, but has 4 children. So all the time there is something to do endlessly. And today the maid did not turn up, so you have to wash the dishes. 4 children are there, you got to wash the dishes, you got to wash everything. So I'm saying, you need to understand this. A relationship is a variable reality. It is not an absolute reality. If you want to have an absolute relationship, you must hold relationships with the dead. That's the reason why a lot of people choose God, because it's an absolute. You can handle it whichever way you want. If you didn't think of him for 10 days, and on the 11th day if you think of him, he's still there. You do that to your husband or wife or somebody, then something else will happen. You went away, got busy, forgot about God for 3 years. Again you can think, still there. So if you want to have an absolute relationship, you should not choose human beings. Human relationships are variables, needs lot of attention. So that's why some people decide in their life they don't have the time and the energy to manage such things, so they take another path where there is no such obligation. They close their eyes, they're by themselves, they don't care who is around them, what's around them. So you can't do that. I think it's best. In trying to punish somebody, you will only end up punishing yourself. They're doing what they want to do. It's best that you see what is it that you really want with your life. You don't have to react to them and do something stupid like them. You just have to sit down and look at this. When your illusions are broken, you're disillusioned right now, it's a very good thing. If your illusions are broken, that means life is bringing you closer to reality, isn't it? So this is an opportunity for you to sit down and see, what is the nature of my life? Why is it? See, this piece of life is a complete piece of life, isn't it so? Is it half a life? Are you a half a life or a full life? Full life. Why is it that it feels so incomplete that it needs another person to fill this life? Why is it? It's time to look at it, isn't it? If this is a full life, this is complete by itself. But right now, you made it in such a way that this cannot exist with that one and that one, without that one and that one and that one. So somewhere it's an incomplete life, or at least it has not realized the fullness of its nature, isn't it? This is a complete piece of life, packed with creator and creation together. Very great combination. If you… this is a time when life knocks at your door like this, it's time you look deeper rather than reacting and trying to fix somebody else. Punishing somebody else is not going to transform your life, not going to make your life beautiful in any way. Some sick satisfaction you'll have for 2 days, after that you'll feel guilty about that also. Yes, initially when this emotion is hot, it gives you satisfaction, after some time when you look back, you'll feel ashamed of yourself. So don't go that way. This is an opportunity. Somebody is opening up a spiritual dimension for you, really. Somebody is making you realize how fragile all these things are. They can cheat you, they can run away, they can divorce you, or they can fall dead, isn't it? If they fall dead, you wouldn't think that he cheated me. Would you think? No. But whichever way you denied, isn't it? The important thing is you denied something. How he did it is not the problem. He denied you something either by death or divorce or cheating or whatever you call it. But essentially you got denied. You can be denied only because you are in a certain illusory state of believing that this is half a life and it needs another half from somewhere. No, this is a complete life. If you blossom as a complete life, you will see relationships will be of a completely different nature. It will be more of coming together and sharing, not of extracting. It has to transform. If it has to transform, you have to transform. This is a great opportunity somebody has given you. Stop using this word, somebody cheated me. Just say somebody is pushing you towards ultimate reality from an illusory state. We must thank that person. Instead of keeping you in an illusion, instead of keeping you in your life for a whole lifetime, so soon they're making you realize this. Otherwise you will know this at the time of your death. Yes. You'll know at the time of your death, when you're dying, I'm scared, why don't you come with me? You'll say, no. But that last moment instead of knowing, it's better to know now.
See you soon for more discoveries and learning. Don't forget to subscribe and invite your friends to be part of this community of mutual growth.